The galaxy buzzed with excitement. The Intergalactic Gladiatorial Championship, a spectacle of unparalleled combat, brought together warriors from across the cosmos. It wasn't just a competition, it was a stage where civilizations demonstrated their strength, dominance, and technological prowess. The arena, a colossal construct of shimmering energy, floated in the void of space, its boundaries pulsating with the vibrant colors of stars. Inside, combatants from the most advanced species flaunted their power, their bodies enhanced by genetic modifications, cybernetics, and alien technologies. Among these titans, Earth's entry was the subject of universal ridicule. Humanity, still regarded as a fledgling species, had been invited more as a joke than a genuine competitor. The other species saw Earth as a curiosity, an experiment in primitive evolution that hadn't yet grasped the intricacies of intergalactic warfare. When Earth's representative was announced, the laughter grew louder. Master Wei stepped into the arena with the serene grace of someone wholly at peace. He was an anomaly among the towering gladiators. Barefoot and clad in a simple robe, he carried no visible weapons. His only possessions were the staff slung across his back and the calm wisdom etched into his face. The crowd erupted in jeers, their disdain palpable. "Is this all they've got?" a Gorlan warrior scoffed, his hulking frame dwarfing the monk's slender build. "This isn't a fight, it's a sacrifice," chimed another spectator, an insectoid being whose mandibles clicked with amusement. Master Wei ignored the noise, his eyes scanning the arena. His demeanor was calm, detached, as if he were observing the wind moving through a forest. The announcer's booming voice echoed, representing Earth, Master Wei of the Shaolin Monastery. "Let the combat commence." His first opponent, a Gorlan brute wielding a massive energy mace, stormed forward with thunderous steps. The ground shook with each movement, and the crowd roared in anticipation of a swift and brutal defeat. The Gorlan raised his weapon, its glowing edges humming with lethal energy, and swung it downward with ferocious force. But Wei wasn't there. In the blink of an eye, the monk sidestepped, his movement as fluid as water. The mace crashed into the ground, leaving a crater where he had been standing. Wei's expression remained unchanged. The Gorlan growled, frustration mounting, and launched a series of wild, powerful attacks. Each swing missed its mark, meeting only air as Wei weaved around the strikes with effortless precision. The crowd began to quiet, murmurs of confusion spreading through the arena. This wasn't the frantic scrambling of a frightened opponent, it was deliberate. Calculated. Wei moved closer, his steps light and purposeful. With a single, precise motion, he struck the Gorlan's arm at a pressure point, forcing the warrior to drop his weapon. Another strike to the knee brought the brute to the ground. Finally, Wei delivered a gentle tap to the side of the Gorlan's neck, rendering him unconscious. The silence in the arena was deafening. Then, a wave of murmurs and gasps followed. The announcer hesitated before declaring, "The winner, Master Wei of Earth." Wei bowed to his fallen opponent, his gesture one of respect rather than triumph. He turned and walked off the field, leaving the crowd and his competitors grappling with what they had just witnessed. Humanity, it seemed, had more to offer than anyone had anticipated. The murmurs had turned to whispers of doubt among the crowd. Master Wei, the unassuming monk from Earth, now stood in stark contrast to the roaring giants and energy-clad champions surrounding him. His victory over the Gorlan had unsettled the confidence of the arena. For the first time, eyes were watching him with something other than derision. The next bout was announced. His opponent was a being from the Xyrath Collective, an entity of pure energy encased in a semi-physical shell of shifting, translucent material. The Xyrath floated into the arena, glowing like a miniature sun, its form pulsating with electric power. This was a fighter impervious to traditional physical attacks, a creature designed for combat beyond the comprehension of most species. "This will be quick," a voice muttered in the stands. The sentiment echoed around the crowd. How could someone with no advanced weaponry defeat a being immune to brute force? Wei stood motionless as the Xyrath approached, its presence radiating heat and an almost deafening hum of energy. With a blinding flash, it struck. A beam of concentrated light shot toward him, but Wei moved with a subtle shift, letting the blast sear past him, leaving the air hot and trembling. The Xyrath's next attack came swiftly, a burst of arcs and tendrils of energy that lashed out like living whips. Wei ducked and twisted, his movements impossibly fluid. The crowd gasped as each strike missed its mark by a hair's breadth. It wasn't evasion born of panic, it was a deliberate, practiced dance. Wei's calm was unnerving. He stood in the storm of energy, his movements precise and controlled. It became clear that he was studying the Xyrath, observing how its energy pulsed, how it reacted to its own momentum. He closed his eyes briefly, as if listening to an unseen rhythm. The Xyrath shifted tactics, compressing its form into a dense, glowing orb before hurling itself at Wei with incredible speed. The attack was a blur, but when the dust settled, Wei remained untouched. He had sidestepped again, his movements timed so perfectly that the Xyrath's trajectory carried it into the arena wall, leaving it momentarily destabilized. This was the opening Wei needed. He reached into his robe and retrieved a small object, a meditation bead, smooth and unassuming. As the Xyrath recovered, Wei moved closer. His steps were deliberate, unhurried, and he began to spin the bead between his fingers. The Xyrath lunged, releasing another burst of energy, but Wei deflected it with a swift, circular motion of his hand, redirecting the force harmlessly into the ground. Then, with a sudden burst of speed, he closed the gap and pressed the bead against the Xyrath's glowing core. A sharp vibration resonated through the arena. The bead had absorbed the Xyrath's energy output momentarily, destabilizing its form. The being flickered, its light dimming, until it collapsed into a dormant state. The crowd erupted in astonished cries, unsure of what they had just witnessed. Wei bowed again, placing the bead back into his robe. He turned and walked calmly toward the exit, leaving behind a stunned silence. The whispers began anew, this time tinged with respect and curiosity. The impossible had happened again. The air in the arena was charged with tension now, an almost palpable shift in how the spectators regarded the human. 2 victories, each defying logic and expectation, had turned the mockery into something far more unsettling, respect mixed with unease. Among the competitors, there was no more laughter. The remaining gladiators exchanged wary glances, their confidence shaken. Master Wei's next opponent was introduced, and the arena fell into an anticipatory hush. A towering insectoid warrior, a champion of the Zekran hive, stepped forward. Its carapace shimmered with bio-enhanced plating, and its limbs bristled with natural weapons, razor-sharp claws, venomous spines, and a tail that cracked like a whip. This creature was bred for battle, engineered for survival. The Zekran wasted no time. It lunged with terrifying speed, its claws slashing through the air in a flurry of strikes. Wei moved as he had before, each attack missing by the narrowest of margins. But this time, the monk's calm evasion wasn't enough to unsettle his opponent. The Zekran was relentless, its assault an unending wave of precision and ferocity. Wei adjusted. He shifted from evasion to redirection, using his staff to deflect the blows. Each movement was subtle, almost imperceptible, yet perfectly timed to nullify the force of the Zekran's strikes. It was a masterclass in control, a display of how balance and technique could neutralize brute strength. The Zekran roared in frustration, its tail snapping forward like a coiled spring. Wei dodged, spinning the staff in a circular motion that caught the tail mid-strike and sent it crashing into the ground. The impact stunned the Zekran momentarily, giving Wei an opening. He moved closer, his staff a blur of motion as he delivered a series of precise strikes to key points along the creature's exoskeleton. The strikes weren't powerful, they didn't need to be. Each one targeted a specific joint or nerve cluster, disrupting the Zekran's movements. The creature faltered, its once fluid motions growing erratic. It lashed out wildly, but Wei remained calm, weaving through the attacks with effortless grace. The crowd was silent, transfixed. This wasn't just a fight, it was a lesson. Wei's mastery of his art was undeniable, a demonstration of how discipline and understanding could overcome even the most overwhelming odds. Finally, with a sweeping motion of his staff, Wei struck the Zekran's legs, sending it crashing to the ground. He placed the tip of his staff against the creature's throat, holding it there for a brief moment before stepping back and lowering his weapon. The message was clear. The fight was over. The Zekran hissed in defeat, but made no move to continue. The announcer's voice rang out, declaring Wei the winner once again. The crowd erupted, not in jeers or mockery this time, but in genuine applause. Wei bowed to his opponent, his expression as serene as ever. As he left the arena, the murmurs of the crowd carried a new tone, respect. For the first time, the galaxy saw humanity not as a primitive race but as something far more formidable. The arena had grown quieter as the championship neared its conclusion. Each fight had chipped away at the galaxy's perception of Earth, transforming mockery into reverence. Now, all eyes were on the final match. The reigning champion, a warrior from the Vorthian Dominion, stepped forward. The Vorthian was an imposing figure, its body a blend of organic might and cybernetic precision. Towering over all who had come before it, this champion was undefeated, a symbol of domination and technological superiority. Master Wei entered the arena with his usual calm, his movements unhurried. The contrast between the two fighters couldn't have been starker. The Vorthian radiated power, its armor bristling with energy weapons and augmented limbs capable of pulverizing steel. Wei carried only his staff and his unshakable composure. The Vorthian's voice, amplified by its cybernetic implants, boomed through the arena. "You've been lucky, human. But luck won't save you now. Your outdated methods are no match for me." Wei said nothing, merely bowing in acknowledgement. His silence was infuriating to the Vorthian, whose mechanical joints hissed as it stepped forward, the ground trembling beneath its weight. Without warning, the champion struck, its cybernetic fist hurtling toward Wei with incredible speed. Wei shifted slightly, letting the punch graze past him, and the force of the Vorthian's attack smashed into the arena floor, sending debris flying. The crowd gasped, but Wei remained untouched, his movements as fluid as ever. The Vorthian snarled, launching a flurry of rapid strikes, each one faster and more precise than the last. Wei danced through the attacks, his body bending and twisting in ways that seemed impossible. It wasn't just evasion, it was anticipation. He moved before the blows fully formed, his intuition honed to a razor's edge. The Vorthian paused, recalibrating its strategy. Its cybernetic eye scanned Wei, analyzing his movements, predicting his patterns. The champion's arm shifted, revealing an embedded energy cannon. A blast of raw plasma erupted, the heat searing through the air. This time, Wei didn't dodge. He raised his staff, spinning it in a blur of motion that deflected the plasma, redirecting the energy harmlessly into the sky. The maneuver left the crowd stunned. It wasn't technology that had saved him, it was mastery, pure and unadulterated. The Vorthian's frustration boiled over. It activated its ultimate weapon, a built-in destabilizer that sent shockwaves rippling through the arena, designed to crush anything within range. Wei stood firm, his stance rooted like a mountain. As the shockwaves neared, he struck the ground with his staff, sending a counter-vibration that neutralized the force, leaving him untouched. The crowd erupted into chaos, the impossible unfolding before their eyes. Wei stepped forward, his gaze fixed on the Vorthian. With a series of precise movements, he began striking key points on the champion's body. Each strike disrupted a vital system, an actuator here, a power conduit there. The Vorthian's movements grew sluggish, its once overwhelming power faltering. In a final act of desperation, the Vorthian lunged with all its remaining strength, but Wei sidestepped, using its momentum against it. The champion crashed to the ground, its systems failing one by one. Wei stood over the fallen warrior, his staff resting lightly against its chest. The arena fell silent. The announcer's voice trembled as it declared, "The winner, Master Wei of Earth." The crowd erupted, their applause a thunderous wave of admiration. Wei bowed to his opponent, his victory marked not by triumph but by respect. As he left the arena, the galaxy was forever changed. Humanity had proven itself, not through brute force or advanced technology, but through discipline, wisdom, and the quiet strength of the human spirit.